Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelenskyy says crews are working tirelessly to restore power across the country after a large-scale Russian attack over the weekend. Ukraine says hundreds of drones and missiles targeted energy infrastructure and residential areas in the early hours of Saturday. The Energy Ministry says it was one of the most difficult nights for the sector since Russia began its full-scale invasion in 2022. 4 people were killed in the attack. DW's Rebecca Ritters, who's in Kyiv, told me more about the damage caused by Russia's attacks on Ukraine's power grid.
Well, Anya, people are really starting to feel the pinch here in the capital, certainly, but in regions across the country. We've seen rolling blackouts for 8, 12 hours at a time. As you mentioned, the energy sector tries to recover from what is being called one of the biggest missile attacks on the energy infrastructure since the beginning of the war. And they're desperately trying to get that back up and running. But of course, that means that people are going without power and water for long stretches. Everyone you speak to, mentions it. Have you had power? What about water? But people generally, at least here in the capital, are pretty resilient. They're used to it. This is the 3rd winter, although, of course, we're still talking about early November. There's many months to go. It's not yet that cold here comparatively, but, of course, people looking forward to December, January and February and wondering just what's going to happen as Russia continues this bombardment. It's certainly part of their strategy. We've seen it time and again that they are really targeting, again this year, the energy infrastructure. And people, of course, fatigued after in this 4th year of war, looking ahead, thinking, how bad is this going to get? But it's certainly not just here in Kyiv. This attack over the weekend was across the country, many regions without power and water, and that will continue in the coming days. And of course, we just don't know when Russia will attack this energy infrastructure again. So, of course, playing this cat and mouse, trying to recover, while at the same time knowing that more attacks will be coming. Now, this is a strategy we're seeing all across the country, as I just mentioned, and particularly in frontline areas. We're seeing, a severe attack on energy infrastructure there. I spoke to one expert saying that is really a strategy, trying to create this almost buffer zone, if you will, along the front line where they're just attacking energy infrastructure. And that makes it really, really difficult for those people still living there. We've just returned from Donetsk region, where the energy situation is incredibly difficult, not least of all for the repair workers that are going out to try to recover and fix the areas, fix some of the power issues for residents still living there, and of course also for military and for everything in that region, trying to get that power back on. So let's take a look at just how they managed to get that done. In Ukraine's frontline towns and villages, the war for energy is almost as relentless as the war for territory. Russian drones target not only soldiers, but the very people fighting to keep the power on. This is Vitaly. He leads an emergency repair team for DTEK, Ukraine's biggest private energy company.
There's a front for the military, and there's a front for us, the energy workers. I wouldn't say ours is any easier.
Since the war began, DTEK teams and facilities have come under attack more than 200 times.
At night, we just try to survive. In the morning, we wake up and drive to those who didn't, whose houses were destroyed, whose lines were hit.
Many members of the team have lost their homes too. 40 of them now live here at this DTEK base. It's a place of relative safety and rest in between their dangerous missions.
Last year, we were listening for planes or artillery fire. Now, 95% of attacks are from drones. If the drone operator targets you, you're dead.
One of their most valuable tools is a drone detector. It intercepts drone signals and shows Vitaly what the enemy sees, so his crew can tell if they need to run.
The signal is weak.
He hopes it'll stay that way. Hope is needed here, but it's often in short supply.
There's nothing really to say. You can see it all. We're clearing debris from the power line. These are such nice apartments. Everything is clear. You can see what the Russians have done.
Even among the widespread devastation, there are occasional reasons to smile.
Look, there's light. And coffee. Like in Paris. Don't you want coffee?
For these crews, the glimmer of light means more than just power. It's proof of life. And that's enough to keep them going.
Rebecca, tell us more about the maintenance workers who are clearly risking their lives every day on repair missions. What drives them to keep going in these circumstances?
Well, I suppose, you could almost say it's a call of duty, really. I mean, you heard Vitaly there in that report saying, soldiers have one front line, we have another. They almost see themselves as doing part of the military's work. They are also in these really heavily conflict zones. They are having to take similar precautions, being trained in similar ways. This is something that they've been doing since the beginning of the war. I actually was talking to Vitaly and he said, well, our team in particular, or teams in the Donetsk region, have a lot of experience because they have been dealing with this since 2014. Let's not forget that the war didn't start at the full-scale invasion in 2022, and many people in the Donetsk region had a great already working knowledge of what to do in war zones. They've been sharing their knowledge with other teams across the region now because, of course, this problem has now spread. It's almost a call of duty. These people, as you saw in that report, come from this region. Many have lost their homes. Many have been pushed back. They're now living on the base. That's just one team, of course. But, they feel it is a sense of duty. They do have exemption from the military because they are in this critical infrastructure sector. So if they weren't doing this job, you might say that they perhaps would get called up to serve in the military. So it is a little bit of a muchness as they see it, but they see it really as being able to help people to try to keep the spirit alive in those regions.
And the war, of course, is in its fourth year. Russia has repeatedly targeted Ukraine's energy grid. Has the country, do you think, become better at protecting its infrastructure against these attacks?
Most certainly, Anya. This is definitely something that Ukrainians are getting more and more experience with. As I said, this is not the first year that they're experiencing it, and they have been. This energy expert I spoke to last week, he was saying that, of course, they're trying to diversify the sector so that not everything is as centralised energy-wise, so that when something is hit, it doesn't blow out whole regions, but instead, they can switch to other kind of energy outlets so that the people are still getting some kind of power while they fix other areas. We went to one substation in Kharkiv and they're working to protect, the most vital parts of that because there's been a lot of damage over the years, and that's happening right across the country. Diversification and, of course, eventually, hopefully, a plan to try to get some of those things underground, some of those important infrastructure objects underground. But, of course, that is expensive and will take a long time.
Rebecca, thank you so much. That's our correspondent in Kyiv, Rebecca Ritters.